It's no secret that life has gotten harder over the past couple of years. Everywhere you turn, prices are higher. The grocery bill that used to be manageable is now pushing you to your limits. Electricity, gas, rent. It feels like it all keeps going up. And if you're someone on a fixed income, whether you rely on retirement, Social Security, SSDI, or SSI, it probably feels like your dollar just doesn't stretch the way it used to. Now, you keep hearing politicians talk about how the economy is strong and how job numbers are up, but you're not seeing that in your wallet. Maybe you're still skipping medications. Maybe you're making impossible decisions between paying rent and buying food. If you've been waiting for someone to finally step in and offer real relief, then stay with me. Because there's something very big going on in Washington that most people haven't caught on to yet. It's not a law, it's not a signed bill, but it's something that could quietly develop into exactly what people have been hoping for. And today, it started with one unexpected moment. Let me ask you something. Have you noticed all the noise recently about tariffs? About foreign goods being taxed more heavily and how that's supposed to protect American jobs? That's what we've been told. And whether you agree with that strategy or not, one thing's undeniable. The government is raking in massive amounts of money. And I mean record setting, eye popping revenue, far more than they expected when these new trade measures were rolled out. But here's where it gets interesting. For months, all we heard was that this revenue would be reinvested into infrastructure, into defense, into broad economic programs. Typical government stuff. But behind the scenes, something changed. And today, for the first time, we got a small, barely noticed confirmation that they might be thinking very differently about what to do with all that money. Before I explain exactly what was said, let's set the stage. Earlier this year, the administration began enforcing new tariffs on a wide range of imports. As those kicked in, revenue from these tariffs exploded. Over the past few months alone, the federal government has quietly collected more than $100 billion dollars from these fees. And that number is expected to balloon to $300 billion dollars annually once the next round of tariffs activates on August 1st. That is an extraordinary figure. To put it in perspective, that kind of revenue is larger than many entire federal departments. It's more than what's allocated to food assistance, housing programs, and even some defense spending categories. It's a mountain of money, and it's still growing. And unlike tax revenue, this money didn't come from American paychecks or small businesses. It came from foreign imports collected at the border. So the big question now is what happens to it? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. There's been a lot of misinformation lately. Social media posts claiming people are getting thousands of dollars in new stimulus or weirdly named dividend checks. You may have seen people referencing the so called Doge dividend, claiming $5,000 is coming to everyone. That's simply not true. That proposal didn't go anywhere. There is no $5,000 payment coming, and that idea has officially died off. But that doesn't mean something new isn't forming. Here's what happened just a few hours ago. While speaking off the cuff to reporters outside the White House before boarding a flight overseas, the president was asked a question that nobody expected to get a real answer to. One of the journalists asked whether the administration was considering sending out direct payments to Americans using the recent flood of revenue. And the president didn't dodge the question. He didn't laugh it off. What he said was simple but very telling. He said they've been thinking about it. That's it. One small admission, but in politics, that's a major signal. Because presidents don't answer speculative questions unless they want that speculation to spread. He didn't give specifics, and no official bill has been introduced yet. But he clearly acknowledged that the idea of issuing rebate checks is on the table. And that's what makes this moment different. Now, let's talk about what that could realistically mean. If you take the projected $300 billion dollars in tariff revenue, and let's say they decide to send just 20% of it back to the public, that's $60 billion. Dollars. Divide that evenly among 60 million people, and you're looking at $1,000 each. If it goes to 120 million people, that's $500 each. Of course, that's speculative math. The president didn't commit to a number, and nobody in the administration has said how much would go to each person, if it even happens. What we do know is this: any payments would likely be targeted. The president mentioned an income threshold, meaning these wouldn't go to high earners or even the average working household. They would be reserved for people under a certain income level, which likely includes low income workers, seniors, people on disability, and others living on fixed or limited income. That group includes a massive portion of the country, and they're the ones hurting most right now. Think about the impact this could have. For someone on SSI who gets just a few hundred a month, a $500 check could cover a whole month of groceries. For a senior on Social Security struggling with prescription costs, it could mean getting medication without cutting corners. For a parent with a disabled child, it could mean repairing the car they need to get to therapy or appointments. This isn't hypothetical feel good fluff. These are tangible outcomes for real people, if it happens. And that brings us to the big question: will it actually happen? Some articles and analysts are claiming that Congress would need to pass new legislation for any such payments to be sent out. But that's not entirely accurate. The truth is, there are multiple paths they could take. One is executive action. The president could technically authorize a rebate or refund program based on tariff revenue without a full act of Congress. That would be fast, and it's been done in other forms before. The other path is legislative. There are already two large reconciliation packages being worked on, one expected in the fall and another next spring. These are exactly the kinds of bills where payments like this have been inserted in the past. Remember the stimulus checks in 2020 and 2021? Those came through reconciliation too. There's also the annual federal budget deadline coming in September. If leadership wants to make this happen, they have more than one opportunity in the next 6 to 8 months. So we're in a very early stage right now. But that early stage just became public for the first time. The president put it on the record that they are seriously considering a rebate. He didn't say how much and he didn't say when, but the door is officially open. Now it's just a matter of watching what they do next. Are they floating this idea to test public reaction? Are they planning to drop this into the fall budget talks? Are they gauging the media coverage to see how it plays politically? All of that is possible. But for you, what matters most is this: the potential for real money, not theoretical, but real, is now on the table. If you're someone who's been waiting for some kind of relief, this is the moment to start paying attention. Because while we don't have all the details yet, we do know that the amount of money available is real. The idea is real. And the president's acknowledgement means the conversation has moved beyond closed doors. So let me leave you with this. No, we don't know exactly who would get this money. No, we don't have a dollar figure. But yes, rebate checks funded by tariff revenue are being discussed right now at the highest levels. And yes, you could be among the first to benefit if it moves forward. Stay tuned because I'll be watching every new development, every hint that surfaces, every piece of legislation that gets proposed. And the moment something concrete happens, you'll be the first to know. If this helped clarify what's going on or if it gave you something to hope for, drop a comment below. What do you think would be a fair amount for these rebates? Who should be eligible? Let's get your voice into this conversation while the decisions are still being shaped. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.